force the ban of Baptiste on the side of Immortals here, I believe. And they're going to ban Voxley from Zeo. There you go. And this is where Immortals now has to ban the Baptiste at this point, because Baptiste with Catherine is just way too strong, and this will give SK Cruel.
Once that Catherine is locked in, you don't have a choice about banning that Baptiste. And as you rightly say, the Crawl coming in, that is two incredibly powerful picks coming through for SK Gaming. When we talk about this North American meta, these are two of the top picks.
Yeah, and again, going back to SK and the way they played in the regular season, and I talked about those heroes that they have 10+ games on, they have a combined 1 game with Krull and Catherine. They had played 1 game on Catherine, did not play a single game of Krull in the regular season. So SK obviously has adapted in the time since the end of the regular season and today.
Yeah, as you were saying before, we're going to be seeing a different SK Gaming coming onto the stage here, and we'll see whether that's a better change or a worse one. We'll have to find out. Immortals looking towards their final pick. What do you expect to see here, Suijay?
Yeah, I think for here, they could go potentially just take away the Celeste pick for the side of SK, or just go with CP Idris. And again, CP Idris is a mage. They should not dive with him. They should let him stack and poke, etc., and then go in when he has enough stacks, because he can actually blow up a Cruel pretty quickly with the amount of burst damage. And actually, Zeo's going to pick the Scarf instead here. Scarf with the Glaive and the Lance.
All right, so kind of, I feel like the Scarf is always like an EU pick historically, so it's interesting to see them picking that up against a player like Tyra's, who's played it so much during the regular season. It's almost like the draft has been flipped on its head here. Now looking towards SK Gaming, how do you round out this composition?
Idris.
Yeah, Idris or the Celeste. You could go with either one of them, but I feel like Idris just makes a lot of sense. It was a very common pick for them. It was one of their most played heroes. It was one they had the highest win rate on of those 5 as well. So it's one that they definitely would feel comfortable with.
And again, it's another one of these massive power picks that we've been talking about in this current meta. Idris is kind of coming to his own with the CP laners heading towards the lane, but it's going to be Celeste coming on through instead, not wanting to lean towards the Idris. Honestly, I think this might be the first time Idris has made it all the way through draft without being picked or banned, but Celeste definitely has been having a great time during this championship.
Yeah, this is a triple stun composition, so Immortals will need to play very carefully. They need to engage against this comp, because if a Cap engages with the stun and the crew engages, that's going to put them in a tough spot. You want them to use their stuns defensively, so they need to be proactive and engage and force fights in jungle. Jungle is the place to fight because they have Lance.
Yeah, and that's been a conversation across the course.
Yeah, against the Lance and Glaive, we saw earlier Truth being able to use those core collapses in order to shut down the Glaive. But if they are using those stuns to try and stop the Glaive, that means Scarf is going to be untouched on the backline. So a lot of decisions will have to be made by SK on when they use their crowd control.
All right, well, we'll see whether they're going to be able to use that effectively. You could hear the crowd behind me getting hyped for this game. This is one of the most hyped matchups of today. You've got the EU hope in SK Gaming going up against the North American hype in Immortals. This is going to be an incredible series. I cannot wait to get on into this one. We've got the compositions locked in. I'm curious to see how SK are going to be able to play around this Scarf, considering it's something they're usually playing alongside. You feel like they probably are going to know how to play against the composition.
Yeah, but Lance just counters Captain Crow completely. I mean, as long as he holds a gifted wall and just pushes Captain Crow off the Scarf, and then Glaive can also peel, they're actually in a good spot.
All right, well, we'll see whether they can pull that one off. It's time to get on into this game. It's time to head into the 3rd quarterfinal of today and pass it over to our casters.
SK Gaming versus Immortals, plus Fuji casting the game. This is a real treat. Fuji, how you feeling?
I mean, I feel great, but the real treat is casting with you, Humanist.
Oh, man.
It's been too long, man. It's been too long. I'm so excited to be here, though. This is going to be my personal favorite matchup of the day. Can't wait to see it go down.
Absolutely. I've been looking forward to this. Both of these teams bring really interesting things to the table. They're both very aggressive mechanically. Strategically, they bring a lot to the table. So I expect that this is not going to be a sweep, whatever happens.
I don't think it is. I think it's going to really be neck and neck. But honestly, just seeing Dienzio, Tiggs on the same team, all on the stage at the same time, this is going to be hype.
Hype, hype, hype. The crowd's starting to get hyped up here. And ladies and gentlemen, we have loaded into the Halcyon Fold, so let the games begin. I'm really curious to see if we actually kick off with early aggression, maybe some fighting even before these guys look for rotations here early on. Maybe a bit of a technical issue as we get into this. But Fuj, how would you expect with these drafts the early game to be playing out?
I mean, I honestly don't expect anything less than aggression when we talk about Immortals. Like, T-Tigers, he is the definition of aggression, right? Like, when we talk about this guy in North American scene, everyone respects him, what he's capable of. A lot of his name came in the early Koshka days when he was so powerful on that pick, and he really just set the precedence for that in North America.
What I really like about T-Tigers as well, is that, yeah, he's bringing the aggression, but he seems to always be like a step ahead, right? It's not unchecked aggression. He's always thought it out in advance, and not only is he doing that, oftentimes he's telling his teammates what he's doing, so they're one step ahead as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just dive for the sake of diving, right? Like, I mean, trading kills.
You can.
I mean, you could.
Sometimes I do.
I mean, sometimes, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But no, like when we talk about this type of tempered aggression where you're able to go in and secure the kills, and the thing we hammer on over and over again is it's not just about securing the kill, it's about getting an objective afterwards. There always needs to be a means to an end. You could technically end an entire game without killing anybody. You got to get the Vein Crystal down, but oftentimes there has to be blood on some people's hands. T-Tigers has never shied away from taking that.
Well, let's see what these guys can do. Also, you know, Cave Volifar is in here. He's one of the big laners that we've seen have huge successes. And these guys, they talked about having something special, you know, catching their opponents off guard. Now, it's not too crazy what they've drafted up here. But do you think they have any surprises in the way they're going to execute it?
I definitely feel like SK wants to come out a little safe early on. They need to test the waters, right? They need to figure out how strong actually is Immortals. Because, yes, the Immortals, we know they're strong in North America, but they didn't get a lot of face time. They came up out of the challenger scene. It just got a few weeks that got them to this championship.
Just soaring up the ranks, though. Just gaining points week after week once they got in.
Crushing it, right? Yeah. Like, so we know they're strong, at least in that small window. We saw their performance yesterday as well. D'Enzio just absolutely showing up in such a big way. But North America, they respected SK during spring. They're going to have to continue to do the same thing here. They were the only European team to take a game off of Cloud9. In fact, the only other team to take a game off of Cloud9 that tournament was TSM, and it was just one for each. So the storyline here for them is quite exciting, and Tyrus right there. I mean, this guy, he's the one I'm going to be watching, Humanist, and it's not just because of his hair.
It's not just because of the hair or that wonderful chain that he's got there. He said his mom actually made that one for him. I think that was pretty cool. But look, guys, we are into the game right now. And this looks like Raph up in the tri-brush. He will notice the Max Green and D'Enzio are rotating over early. Zio, of course, on that scarf. Really excited to see what he'll do. He says, yo, one of my favorite scarves of all time. Looks like they should be able to take the mids away. It's actually stolen by Raph. A nice job.
I mean, this is such a big deal this early in the game. The experience, the gold coming out of the jungle. But D'Enzio playing with his food here a little bit. The last time we actually saw D'Enzio on some epic scarf performances, most memorable was at Worlds. It almost pulled them through the semis into the final, so I'm also quite excited to see this pick.
Yeah, this was the power pick that would come out and put so much fear into his opponents. Now, we have the Celeste versus the Scarf. Actually, maybe a little bit of aggression. T-Tigers boots in, trying to get the afterburn. Not quite where he wanted to be. And that's going to be a swing and a miss here, Fuji.
Yeah, you can't punt the turret, T-Tigers, but I think he knows that. He's just going to give it a little love tap back up.
It'd be a fun mode, though.
It would be a fun mode indeed. You know, so the first thing you asked me was, will we see any aggression? Right away, we see Max and Scarf just invading and giving Tigers some time in the back.
Helio, a couple of attacks. You see Cave Volifar's mechanics very clean.
You know what? I love the fact these guys aren't waiting to do damage. A lot of times you get mages in the lane. They spend a lot of time farming. But Volivar, he's trying to tell us. He's like, hey, we're not here to play, we're here to win, and they're trying to get the kill on D'Enzio right away.
I think the playstyle of Celeste and Scarf, oftentimes, you know, obviously you have to do different things, but a lot of times you're hanging on the backside of fights, trying to apply damage, stack up a Broken Myth eventually once you get it. How do we expect the lane to actually work out here, though?
I honestly think it just needs to be a very safe laning phase. We're going to want Tyrus to get level 6 to be able to throw from Hell's Heart, lock down the Scarf so he can't do anything. They might try a couple of cheeky ganks here. Honestly, the stun, the follow-up from the slow, from the passive will give them some damage.
Yeah, Tyrus moving up, just getting a little damage down on the Max Green. He's cleared out his jungle, he's making the rotation. It's actually Tix taking his fronts away. Tyrus is down here. I'm not sure if he actually saw that.
Yeah, I don't think he did. I mean, every little bit counts, but the front's not quite as worth getting the Elder, but T-Tigers, they do have some vision on the jungle there, so looking for perhaps a counter gank here, but SK Gaming, they're playing smart. They understand Immortals is an aggressive team. They will push. They will make their presence known early game. We have to play back just long enough before we can group up.
T-Tigers, he's caught out here a little bit, but being the glaive, of course, after going over the wall, he'll probably port back. We see aggression up in the lane, though. The Impale Cave Volifar getting lit up. The attack, the goop drops down to first blood. Immortals are on the board.
First blood to Immortals. I love the fact we see action on two sides of the map, except Celeste does not have an afterburn. Can't get out of there. Does go down. Great impel from Max. Great follow-up there from Dienzio. So Immortals putting a point on the board, setting the tone.
Yeah, and it looks like Kevalavar is going to be missing some of those lane minions just because it was underneath the turret when he died. I think Raph cleaned up maybe 1 or 2 of those up in the lane.
I like looking at some of the build progression we're going as well. T-Tiger's looking at, he's going to be rushing the tension bow. That's going to be quite a lot of damage in the early game. It's going to last quite throughout the game too. Is Celeste, you really want to get to those offensive items. You do not want to build defense. She's going to have to watch out here. T-Tiger's looking for blood.
T-Tiger, oh no! T-Tiger's core collapse. It is a disaster for T-Tigers. He goes down as well. Raph goes down to the impel. Max Green turning it up. Tyrus is up in the lane as well, Fuji. Tyrus looking for something, not going to find anything, but Immortals, SK trading.
I thought I told you, Tiggs. You can't punt the turret. He didn't listen. Didn't listen
He was
at all.
trying to prove you wrong. Kevalavar getting impaled up. Dienzio eating those heliogenesis, though. I mean, you can see Kevalavar just standing his ground. I really like it. Even though he was impaled, he's like, I'm just going to get the damage down on Zio.
We do have a little bit of a question we have to ask here. A little time perhaps being wasted on this Kroll. He might be able to get some counter jungling in. We'll have to see if he can take this away from Tiggs.
Tyrus, actually, yeah, Tyrus got it.
So the time in the lane was worth it. You got to be careful, though, spending too much time up there putting pressure in the lane. If you're not farming and not getting your rotations in, not going to reach those item spikes quite as fast. But speaking of item spike, Tiggs does have this tension bow. We'll be looking for a kill soon. Max Green here has enough money to buy the fountain. We'll probably move into that as well. And of course, Dienzio sitting on that Frostburn. So a lot of tier 3 item completions for Immortals here. SK still trying to get to theirs. We're in a pretty good spot right here, though, Humanists. This is the moment where we're going to start seeing, can SK actually get the kill? We have the Merciless Pursuit. We have from Hell's Heart. If they get a lockdown on Glaive or Scarf, it's probably game over.
Yeah, I mean, the item spikes are one thing, but having that from Hell's Heart just changes the game. If the Kroll can move up, they don't have vision on him, and he lands that, Zio can be in a world of hurt. Right now, Tyrus has moved up to the lane, flares around, Max throws his own flare. Tyrus moving forward, controlling the brush. SK doing a good job to have a forward positioning in the lane consistently here.
Yeah, going for the counter jungle again. Well, he gets it as well.
Gets it again, stunned up. Tyrus getting a couple weakness stacks there. Max Green's dropped down. Zio as well. Got the Spitfire, the goop onto 2. Kevalavar booting forward though. This is actually T-Tigers taking the majority of damage. A defensive afterburn forced out. Max Green is there. Both teams, well, it's actually only Immortals forced out with the found there. Raph holding his.
Yeah, I like the fact that there was just a little gentleman sparring there, and obviously we saw Kevalavar using his boot active to come to the rescue, getting the core collapse down, keeping his teammates safe. But SK knows they have to have seen the fountain. They could actually look to make a play here, but since they weren't able to nail it in lane, they did have to use from Hell's Heart in the jungle. Didn't get a kill. It looks like it's just going to be a pretty big reset.
Now, the mini wave is moving forward, and we had Kevalavar drop into the jungle to split that farm, so a bit unfortunate there, just because I think the Scarf can clear that wave so fast. It's going to be hard for them to do that.
Yeah, you got to be careful about doing double jungle rotations with your carries if your captain cannot hold the lane safely. Immortals doing the smart thing, not letting the wave stall out, pushing it all the way to the turret is what they should be doing, but Tyrus going in for the counter jungle again.
Tyrus moving forward. Got that dead man's rush, just kind of flexing on Max there. T-Tigers has got the afterburn, knocks Kevalavar back, but where's the follow? There's the impale scoop. Whoa! Lit him up! He just got popped right there. Now Tyrus is going to be forced out, and the Raph left to his own devices, but this is going to be Immortals applying some pressure.
Oh, the impale on the goop feels good. If you're Immortals, you're slowed, you are stunned, you cannot move, you cannot get out of that in the fire. The ticking damage is just overwhelming, and we're going to see right here just the power of Scarf's ability to take down objectives as well with this burn over time.
Wow. I mean, that is an early kill. The transition is right into a turret. You talked about it before. The top teams are always taking something off of the back of a fight, and you don't have to kill 2 or 3 members. That is 1 kill, 1 turret.
1 kill, 1 turret. I'm sure they would like to continue that trend throughout this game. Tyrus just telling the gold miner, come over here, buddy. This might be a little bit risky because Immortals is able to contest this.
This is going to be a sketchy situation. Zio holding the Spitfire. Oh, nice. SK able to grab that, and it felt like Zio might be able to steal it, but a little bit late.
A little bit late. Also, Glaive was not close enough for afterburn threat. I like the fact that SK, even though they just lost an objective, they looked for the next one. They didn't let it get him down. They're like, okay, we're a little behind, but we definitely need to make the next move. Turret too protected. Let's go for the gold mine. Let's take the trade, and they secure it.
Yeah, the worst thing you can do is start to feel like, okay, we're behind. We're going to start to pull back on the map. They have reached out. They have taken an objective and keep themselves quite in this game. It's 3-1, 8 minutes in. SK down just a little bit. Core collapse lands onto Max. SK moving forward. Tyrus applying a bit of damage. Spitfires flying from Zeo. Consistently coming out here. Right now, they have such good wave clear that SK are pretty much on the back foot consistently without that turret up.
Yeah, makes sense, but mistakes are going to be punished so hard against the SK Gaming team. They have so many stuns, so many abilities to lock you down, so if Max needs to make sure those entails land, or else he's just a sitting duck for that team. Tyrus is sitting over in the corner here. I like this. Krolls, they want to sit back. They want to get their speed boost in the brush, a little bit out of sight, unpredictable, but with him returning home, they're going to be able to do some counter jungling themselves.
Yeah, they'll take away the front half of this jungle from SK Gaming. And I'm sitting here wondering, you know, why is Tyrus feeling like he's not having too big of an impact thus far in the game?
I think it's just because so they obviously had a lot of incentive to do counter jungling. I think the first time they went in for the invade, it was great. The second time they went in, it was great. But you can't keep doing the same thing. Immortals was there to contest, to hold off instead. They should have went for the lane gank. They should have went for the pressure with the ultimate on Kroll. But it's okay. They still have a good hold on the game. And this is also a little bit of a risky play here from Immortals.
Ooh, Crystal Sentry dropping down low. SK trying to defend. Crystal Sentry's down. T-Tigers is low. Zeo as well. Solar Storm flying through, and they're actually going to take T-Tigers out. Tyrus moving forward. A nice job there.
Great Solar Storm from Celeste, but Max Green, this is the Summer Unified Championships, friend. No Crucible used, no Fountain used. You can't just let T-Tigers go down like that. He's critical to protecting this Scarf.
Yeah, well, it looks like we're going to take a moment here. Maybe there's something going on. Max Green, I would expect him to be landing I would put him in the top 3 captains potentially here at this championship. He's really impressed me as I've seen him play more and more, and he's one of these guys I would expect to be landing Crucibles and getting that Fountain out.
I would have to think that players love testing the limits, right? So he had to think if he can body block at least the 2 other stars, that the primary star in the middle wouldn't be quite enough damage to take Glaive down, and it just was. Like, the calculation was just a little bit off. That can happen, nerves on stage, so holding those active items.
Did you see if the From Hell's Heart actually caught him, or did it catch Tiggs?
I don't believe it did. No. Yeah, I mean, it was one of these things where it was like you have the damage, you have the ability to body block something, but you have to make the decision in the moment, especially if you've got 2 ults coming from 2 different directions, like which one do you actually catch? Better safe than sorry. Just pop the Crucible. You know you're going to get out there. You can just wait for the cooldown and reset.
Yeah, well, these guys having a little bit of a chat there. Zeo having a pretty good game thus far. I think Immortals have control of this game. They've moved their vision forward across the map. That's an important thing we talk about once a turret goes down. And that gives them so much control. If you're against an Invisible here, maybe a CP Kestrel, a Taka, that's very important, but also against a Kroll, right? Like, you never want to have him just moving freely across the map.
Well, it's basically like 2 wins, right? You're pushing up your vision. You get a lot of information on those heroes that like to be stealth or like to be in the brush, but you're just also getting all the vision information anyway. You're getting items that are being picked up. You're getting a lead on what your enemy's attempting to do, and it just allows you to set up so many more strategic plays. And these guys, I mean, they've been in the scene for a while. Like, we see D'Enzio on screen. Like, this guy has literally grown up in Vainglory. To see him here on stage today helping lead his team to victory is quite the treat.
Yeah, literally grown up. He's like a foot taller than when I met him. SK moving forward here. Stun's going to come out onto Max. Core collapse,
Nice
dodged
dodge.
out with a nice combat roll there. D'Enzio feeling the pressure, but T-Tigers coming around from the bottom side. Tyrus scouts that out. He's empowered here in the brush. Potentially looking for a target, waiting for the cooldown on the ultimate. Solar Storm on cooldown as well. SK drops down into the jungle. Looks like Immortals not ready to follow.
Definitely smart move there from Immortals. You don't want to fight in that choke point, in that angle against the Celeste. Even though you do have the Lance, you prefer jungle fighting. A north to south angle is not optimal. Celeste definitely gets the position down towards the shop. She can run out towards her base. So I like the fact that Immortals held off. You saw they were thinking about it, but one of those things though I want to think about a little bit here is the fact that we see how much pressure SK has once they're in the lane brush. Even though Immortals' turret is right there, they know they can't enter the bush because a stun from Catherine, a follow-up from Kroll, a core collapse from Celeste, it doesn't matter how much defense you have, that's going to be devastating to your team.
Yeah, one of the things, Fuji, I'm actually noticing right now is so K-Volifar going for the level 8 infusion. On the flip side, we look at Zeo, and he's completed 3 tier 3 items. So he has a pretty significant advantage there.
I mean, everyone wants to rush those tier 3 items. If you talk to any team right now, they say if you're on Scarf, if you're on Celeste, you have to get your offensive items as fast as possible. You only get the defense necessary. I would say reflex block is necessary. There's oftentimes where you certainly want more than one, though, against that type of composition, but that's just the strength of these types of players, Humanist. That's what they want to do. They want to optimize their offensive pass so they can do as much damage, hit those power spikes when they need to hit them, and 3 items Scarf. I mean, we're 1 item away from one of the most powerful late game heroes in the entire game already.
Ooh, gives me the shivers. All these guys taking another moment here, and I gotta wonder if you were actually on SK's team as, you know, the shot caller for them. They're on the back foot here. It looks like the wind's a little bit out of their sails. We're looking at them here on camera. What are you telling your teammates?
Hold on. That's what you tell them. You tell them, hold on, because Catherine right now is one of the most powerful scaling captains in the game. Once you get that Echo, especially if you get a null wave, you can shut down the enemy captain, no actives available, use your first silence, Echo, force the Crucible out on the second silence, giving, I mean, that's just one hero causing so much mayhem. So Celeste is able to just continue to drop volleys from the back with those Heliogenesis. But they needed to get to that point. Because they are behind, they cannot afford to rush or push too early. One mistake is going to net another turret for Immortals, which is just going to increase that gold lead.
I'm scared that they may not get to that point, though. I mean, oftentimes when you find yourself behind, you think, okay, maybe we're going to let the captain sit here, hold lane. We definitely are going to try and get this gold onto our Celeste. She's an item behind at this point. But do you think maybe it's worth prioritizing?
The thing is, Celeste can actually defend, especially at the choke point turret, so well. Like, the sieging against the Celeste is so hard because those supernovas, when they explode, they hit all your team. They trigger your team a little bit. It's like, whoa, damn it.
Yeah.
Yowza. That's the word you like.
Exactly.
But I think they use that to their advantage. If you get too close, you just throw from Hell's Heart. You lock them down once again with the Catherine stun, and they have to back up. So Kraken, I believe, is the next objective that Immortals is going to be really thinking about. Because Kraken with Scarf, that's just instant turret death. They're going to be able to push in and siege so well. Even though we talked about Catherine's Celeste's ability to defend, the Kraken is just a huge objective in the way from them being able to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, being on that Scarf, having the Kraken in front of you, that's one of the easiest things. The max range Spitfires if you can. Throwing it from sneaky little angles. Drop a goop if they start to run at you. SK, they're in a tough place here.
They are in a tough place, but if any team is going to be able to come out of a tough place, I have faith it is SK Gaming. These guys are calm and collected. We rarely ever see them shaken. Even in the moments where they're being defeated or they are falling behind, they still have such great resolve. This team is very mature. Everyone has such great respect for them for their gameplay, but honestly, they also have to respect the fact that their demeanor on stage is quite impressive as well.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with this team, and I'm impressed we are back into the game. Let's see what SK Gaming can do here. They're kind of in the middle area of the map. Tyrus clearing out some scout traps here.
I just love watching Tyrus on this Kroll. He's just constantly just scooting around the map on this skin. It's such a great look. Just no fear right now. The dude's just cruising through the lane, just trying to check out what's going on while his team does go down the shop. But once again, you know, SK, they are behind, but it's so insignificant. Like, the gold lead right now for Immortals, it's mostly just the fact that they have more map presence. But even with the turret down, Humans, SK is still pushing Immortals onto their side of the map.
Yeah, it's true. And the gold miner is essentially full at this point. The gold mine is full. So if they can find the kill, they can start to close the gap even more. Combat roll is going to go over the wall wrap, finding a stun. Another stack on the captain of the guard. SK as free, and it looks like they're actually going to go for the gold miner right here, right now.
Yeah, they're going to force this gold mine fight out. We do have Tiggs and the rest of the team coming from the backside.
Oh, they're flying. That's going to be a From Hell's Heart onto Zio, stunning up potentially. The gold miner's still in this fight. K-Volvar winds up the Solar Storm connecting. T-Tigers is melted down. SK able to find a kill there, and they may be able to hold this gold miner and actually take it. Zio knows what's happening, throwing the Spitfires. A nice preemptive core collapse coming out of K-Volvar. I actually really like that.
I mean, From Hell's Heart went out right away and caught Zio.
Tyrus! Right there.
Hello.
Yeah, you got to be careful in that goop when it's ignited underneath that turret. It's a dangerous place to be.
Yeah, but we saw Tyrus actually throwing Hell's Heart out, hitting Dienzios, keeping Scarf from actually being able to enter that team fight just long enough. I mean, the damage coming from Tenshinbo, the Twisted Stroke crit with Star Blade did do quite a lot to Kvalifar, but once again, so much lockdown. It's so hard for Glaive to be able to follow up on the Celeste kill.
So Tyrus connected on that from Hell's Heart. Zio gets stunned up there. Was he holding reflex for something else?
I honestly just think he wasn't expecting it to come out from the gold mine. Like,
Yeah.
like the throw from Hell's Heart that early just to make sure they could either secure the objective or choose to turn. It was really smart. And honestly, I wasn't even expecting it to come out. So I think that was a very heads-up play from Tyrus there on this pick. Kroll just making so many waves, a hero that oftentimes is being regarded for so many of our players as just being this nightmare hero, but he didn't see that much competitive play for such a long time, but now he is just in every game, and when he is in the game, he's being felt. It's crazy to see how well these players are also pulling him off.
Yeah, it's really cool. You see Tyrus just abusing the movement speed, and of course the slow coming out of that Shadow Empowers being. Now, what I like to see about Tyrus, and our analyst desk actually mentioned it as well, this guy, he's a very smart player, mechanically gifted as well, but oftentimes it's like we can watch him adapt in real time to his opponent's play style, and I think that really separates.
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, it's one of these things where we talk a lot about the strength of the individuals, but it all comes down to the strength of the team. Immortals looking to position themselves here potentially for a team fight. Max Green just chipping a little off the stone wall there, but the positioning right now to be very safe.
Man Impale coming out, a defensive core collapse will cancel that off.
Just not really in a position to make any moves. I actually think Immortals is not really getting anything here. They should just let the wave crash. There's no objective to be had on the map. Play safe, don't force anything. If you give a gold lead over to SK, the same thing is relevant for that Celeste pick. She does scale quite heavily into the late game, but these guys just poking at each other.
I am loving K Volifar Celeste right now. Like, even though he's missing of the majority of core collapses he's throwing, they're predictive of the movement of Immortals. Like, if they engage, they're engaging into a core collapse. It's keeping them very safe now. Another Impale coming out of Max Green. Max has done a great job to be the front line for his team thus far.
I mean, honestly, with Spitfires and Helios coming out, it's hard to even know when to talk about the game or when to talk about the fight. You just never know when the engage is coming. The damage in the poke is real in this matchup. And the other thing people have to also remember is that not every Heliogenesis being put on the ground is being put for damage, right? It does give vision, it does give zoning.
Yeah.
So you can actually cut off a lot of different paths. You can drop them in the choke point up in the lane. So people are actually, they have to make a choice. Do we just walk through it and hope he's not looking? It's like, Baltimore, don't pop it, buddy. I don't want to take that damage, but it is a risk that you have to take to be able to get in the right position. Max and T Tigers will be quite a bit tanky, so it's mostly DNZO that needs to watch out for the damage.
This is one of the first times Tyrus was able to get into that top brush, I think undetected, but Immortals not even in danger. They're dropping down as a unit down towards the middle area of the map. Now, we also have Kraken out on the map. How does this change things?
It just honestly just puts another objective that teams are going to want to look for. I mean, the pace of the game is moving slow. We talked about it, right? What does SK need to do to make sure that this first turret going down doesn't spell the end of the game for them? They need to be patient. They need to play the waiting game. We have an Echo on Catherine, ready to use an Echo on Max Green, ready to use. A little bit of a little Echo there.
Echo. Right now, Zio, he has 4 offensive items. A nice dodge on the Impale there. Max taking a bit of damage. He should be just fine, though. Tyrus isn't powered up in that back rush there. They're going to move in. Max, he's slowed up. A couple weakness stacks. They're moving forward. A nice Githian wall. Spitfire connects onto Tyrus. Zio's going to look to kite back as K Volifar continues to drop the Heliogenesis, just zoning this Scarf back.
Yeah, but it is a 4-item offensive Scarf build on DNZO right now, so they have to be careful. It's essentially a poke war. We have Frostburns, Eves, Broken Myths, Clockworks, all around, Boots, Reflex. These guys are basically saying, may the best hero and player win. I got your build, you got mine.
Let's do it. I'm loving this right now. K Volifar, tier 2 boots, though. So maybe a bit of an advantage.
A bit of an advantage. DNZO, you got some money in the bank, kid. Just go back and spend it. It's okay. I won't tell Mom. We have a lot of things to think about, though, here, Humanists, because we are getting to that 18-minute breaking point. We talk a lot about mages in the late game. The fact that they are so hard to deal with, but each team has one. So a lot of this is going to come down to the captains.
We may have an actual fight. If this feels like a fight happening here, Max Green, combat rolling back. The 4 collapse did connect. SK kiting backwards, continuously dropping those Helios. Zio kind of moving back while throwing his Spitfires, throwing one backwards there. It happens. See Tyrus on the front side. Scoop, another Impale at the choke point. Not where you need Max Green, dropping low. Crucible, the Fountain. He stays alive. Blast Timber coming through. Tyrus continuing to weaving stack. The Dragon Breath burning him down. He's got one. Moving on the top side. T Tigers on the K Volifar. T Tigers can he take him? Zio's able to get him double kill. Comes out for Immortals, blowing this game wide open.
Oh my my goodness, Humanist, the ace. This is exactly what Immortals needed to win this game. They needed to get the Kraken to be able to push. Now SK Gaming, it's so dangerous for them at this point. They're going to get the second turret. They're going to put damage on the third turret. Oh my goodness, in this replay we're going to see exactly what went down. The Impale into the goop, blocking everything up. So much damage putting into Max Green. The Enzio just sitting on the back line, just free of all damage output, even though the core collapse is able to go down and the Supernova is able to do damage. By then, Max Green and T-Tigers had already cleaned up the rest of the team fight.
So we saw Tyrus actually lock onto T-Tigers there. I didn't notice if he didn't have boot cooldown or whatever was happening. Would you like to see him get onto Zeo there?
Honestly, Scarf has to be your target. Like, if you kill Glaive, if you kill Lance, doesn't matter, because by then Scarf's going to be at max stacks, and he's just going to use his ultimate and melt you. I mean, D'Enzio maxed his ultimate. This is maximum pierce, maximum damage output, and now we have a Kraken pushing into the base with only 2 turrets left.
Dangerous situation. Impale, core collapse is going to defend off, but T-Tigers is there. T-Tigers has massive damage output. Another Gynthian wall, another Gynthian wall, another Impale. Who is this guy? Max Green making the plays for Immortals. Zeo cleaning up with the Spitfires and the damage, and I'm telling you, Fuge, this looks like this is going to be game 1 going to Immortals in this race. Kraken still marching forward, quite healthy.
Ultimate.
It's going to be K-Volifar looking for T-Tigers. Oh, the Dragon's Breath doing work. Soulstorm comes through. This is Zeo versus K-Volifar. K-Volifar dropping low. Core collapse blocked off. Zeo's doing it. Zeo has done it. Immortals will be taking game 1. SK almost making the defense there at the end. We knew this game was going to come down to the wire. I mean, it was actually very close as far as you look at the overall net worth, but Immortals didn't lose a turret.